Hello, welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. Let's get started. You're going to need a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White, which I cut in half at 2 1/4, so I have two pieces. One is 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. One is 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. The larger of the two we're going to stamp on. The smaller of the two we're going to emboss. I have a piece of Highland Heather, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. I have a card base, which is the thick, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. I scored it and folded it at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Highland Heather, which is 1/4 inch. I believe it's 5 1/2 inches, but we're going to cut it down a little bit. And I have a scrap piece of Whisper White to stamp on, and then die cut the sentiment out of using the Stitch So Sweetly die. It can be found in the January through June mini catalog, and it's on page 20, I believe. Yep, right here. It's this bundle. So Sentimental, Stitch So Sweetly, So Sentimental bundle. So I'm using this sentiment on that die. Okay. We're also going to be using the Coastal Weave embossing folder. Inspiring Iris. And then the So Sentimental. So from the Inspiring Iris, I'm just using this stamp here. And let's get started. You're also going to need Versamark ink, clear or white embossing powder, whichever one you have. The ink colors I'm using today is Granny Apple, Highland Heather, and Lovely Lipstick. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this 1 3/4 by 5 1/4 inch piece and run it through the Coastal Weave embossing folder, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. There's that piece embossed. We'll put that over there with those. Okay, now let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. We're going to use Lovely Lipstick. I thought I took that sentiment out. Maybe I didn't. I did. Where'd it go? Alright, let's go ahead and stamp the sentiment with the Lovely Lipstick. I'm looking all over for it. It's sitting right here on my desk. I knew I'd got it out, but alright, ink it up well. Make sure it's got good coverage. Go ahead and stamp it. Perfect. Go ahead and wash the stamp so I don't get ink on something I don't want to. Alright. And I'm going to place this die where I want it. Use my little sticky note to tape it in place. And I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. And I will be right back. Okay, there's our sentiment. Okay, now we're going to bring in that 2 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. We're going to bring in this stamp. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. And the Versamark ink. Before I do that, let's bring in the embossing buddy. And the reason I use that is so I don't get any embossing powder in any places I don't want it. Okay, this is an old Versamark, so it's pretty stained, but it doesn't impact the paper. Okay, so I'm going to just ink that up. I'm going to stamp this first time with the leaves going up like this, but a little bit going off the page. I'm going to ink it up again, then I'm going to turn it and stamp it going the opposite direction. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way across the page. I know it's really hard to see. It's hard for me to see. It's just a little glistening on my card. Going this way. One more. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in some coffee filters in a tray. You can use a folded piece of paper. I just find this easier. And I've got clear embossing powder. And I'm going to liberally sprinkle this clear embossing powder. Make sure everything gets good coverage. And I'm going to gently tap it from behind. I want to shake off any of the excess. Perfect. And before I do anything else, I'm going to pick up the top. There's 2 coffee filters. I'm going to pick up the top one. I'm going to put this back into my jar. Okay. Shake the excess out into the trash. We're done with that. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my cutting board and my heat tool. I have a longer cord this time, which helps. And I'm going to emboss that. Now I don't know if you can see it. Let me bring it up to the light, see if I can get it so you can see it. I don't know. Might be able to see it there. And I'm going to emboss that. You're going to emboss it until it gets shiny and clear. You can see it change. And you're going to move to another spot. You don't want to emboss it too long, because then it'll melt into the page. You'll still have a spot there that looks like a watermark, but it won't have a raised area. And you may not resist. It is hot, so don't burn yourself. Missed a little down there, but that's alright, it'll still work. Okay, now we're going to bring in our ink pads and we're going to bring in some ink daubers. Got one for Highland Heather. Oops. Doesn't want to stand up on it. I got one for Granny Apple. And one for Lovely Lipstick. Okay, I'm going to start with a granny apple. And wherever there's leaves, I don't know if you can see it now. There you go. Wherever there's leaves, I'm going to dauber in the granny apple. And I'm just going to dab off a little so it's not quite as harsh onto my paper. You'll see it's like magic. All of a sudden that impression shows up. Let's see. Okay, so wherever there's leaves, I'm going to go ahead and sponge in some of this green. Okay, now I'm going to take the purple and I'm going to do just a little bit of coloring on some of these flowers. Let's say purple. Let's do one over here. Want a little bit of purple up in here. Don't go over the green with the purple or you'll end up with a brown. But you can go up next to it. Okay, then I'm going to bring in the lovely lipstick. And this is one of the retiring colors. It's one of my favorite colors. Doing the rest of those flowers. Blend in a little bit around the edge where it's blank. You can do as soft or as dark as you'd like. And again, don't go over the green because green and red make brown. I'll take the purple and finish this edge off. Now you can blend the purple and the pink together because they blend nicely. Anything that's is similar in color will blend nicely. Opposite colors will not. Like green and red are opposite colors. And a little bit more of this purple onto this flower. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a soft cloth or tissue and I'm going to wipe on top of that. Any of that ink that's sitting on top of that embossing needs to be wiped off. This is called Emboss Resist. A little bit more buffing here. Awesome. Okay, we're done with the ink. We can put it all away and we can assemble this card. It's really not a difficult card. Okay, bring in our pieces. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this floral piece we just made. Decide which way I want it to be. I think I want it to be that way. Accidentally left my glue open all night, so I might have to clean it out. Let's bring in this one. I don't know if that one's any better. A little bit of glue there. Well, I'm batting 1,000 today, aren't I? This is a new one. I know this one will work. Okay. And put that on there. There's going to be about an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around it. Or yeah, 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And we're going to put this piece on that we embossed. And it can get butted up right up against it. Just want these edges to match. Side edges. For some reason it's not very straight. I must not have cut that paper straight. It's alright, we're going to hide that centerpiece anyway. Okay, then we're going to take that little 1/4 inch strip and we're going to glue that down. This should be the same length as the one below it, which is fine. If you wanted, you could trim it off here and here, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to bring in that sentiment I embossed, and I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals. And you could put it this way up, like that. And why don't we do that for this one? Put a couple dimensionals on the back. Do it here. Do I want to do it? Let's do it right there. Okay. And I have some frosted flowers I've had in my stash I really want to use. I believe. Just grab a couple of those and I'm going to put one on each of these little bump things here. And then we'll attach this to the front of our card. It's the same size as the front of the card. Set it down, get it lined up. Come on. There we go. Well, there's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously where I did the opposite. Well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.